Basically in this video, what I'm gonna do is give you some tips to help cope, help manage, help the process. Obviously you care about them, you don't wanna break up over something like this. So the very first thing I will say is that you wanna encourage treatment, whether that's seeing a mental health professional to help deal with the anxiety to actually get treated, or the depression. A lot of the times, especially I know in the African American culture, there's a stigma that seeking help or seeing a professional makes you weak, or makes you, especially if it's a guy, it makes you less of a man, and it's emasculating. So the number one thing that you can do as a partner is help them seek treatment. And this isn't even limited to, depression or anxiety. I mean, if there's substance abuse, seek treatment. You want to get help from a professional. That's the first. If you get anything from this video, that's the most important thing, to get help from a professional. There's nothing wrong with it. Mental illness and mental wellness is an important thing, not only to me, but to you, because you're watching this video. The second thing you want to do is you want to show positive reinforcement of healthy behavior versus criticizing the other behavior that's not good. Like the things that they do that are not beneficial, instead of criticizing it, don't do that. Just show positive reinforcement towards the healthy behaviors, because we learn as humans, that if a behavior is given positive reinforcements, we're gonna do it again. For example, you go to work every 2 weeks, at the end of the 2 weeks, they give you a paycheck. So you're rewarded for your positive behavior, which is going to work and doing your job. Same thing applies with mental health, mental illness. If there's an issue, we wanna reward the person for positive behavior. Especially if they make the effort to step outside of themselves, if they make an effort to step outside of what they're struggling with. One thing you never wanna do is you never wanna marginalize anybody's efforts. Don't expect them to grow based on some timeline of what society sets or what you may set. If you're dealing with a person who has anxiety or depression, what you want to do is you want to reward them based on their individual growth, based on their own timeline. You never want to marginalize them and say, well, you should be here, you should be at this point, because then it makes them feel small, and it makes them feel like whatever they've done is simply not good enough, and that's not what you want to do. One thing you never really want to do is assume that you can fix it or that you can solve it, as well as you don't want to take things personally. Like if you're dealing with a person who has anxiety and they don't want to go to a social situation, don't take it personal. Don't make it about you. If a person you're dealing with has depression and all of a sudden they're fighting a bout of sadness, don't think it's because of something you say. You don't want to take it personal, because people who are dealing with anxiety disorders and depression, in their mind, they can't actually control it when it's happening. So if they could control it, they would stop it. That's what they're going to tell you. So don't you take it personal, because then you're making it worse in their head. You're making it worse by taking it personal, and you don't want to do that. It's important that you also set boundaries. Now, if you're dealing with someone who has depression or anxiety, it is very important that you set boundaries, and this is the tough thing that a lot of us are going to deal with, because we care about this person. We want them to be okay. We want them to get through. We want them to know that they have support and that they have love. But you can't do that at the expense of making yourself go into depression. You can't do that at the own expense of making yourself lose happiness just to, save someone. And I know that sounds kind of harsh, but I mean, that's real. At the end of the day, it's their responsibility. No matter what we say, no matter how we try to help them, everyone is responsible for their own experience, and it's up to them to get themselves through it. The only thing you can do is assist and be a teammate and a partner. But if the path of being a teammate and a partner creates a path of depression for you, a path of destruction for you, then it's time for you to reevaluate your participation in their journey. I'm sure at the end of the day, they can be grateful just for the fact that you participated, just for the fact that you gave value and that you were there, versus being completely absent. If you have to remove yourself later because you have to save yourself and because you have to refine your happiness again, they should be able to appreciate at least you tried, at least you were there for them. So always set boundaries for yourselves on how you're going to be treated, how you're going to allow yourself to be treated, how you're going to treat yourself. The last thing I want to say is this: if you're dealing with someone who has anxiety or depression and you feel like you're normal, so you're not depressed, you're happy, you don't feel anxious at all with social situations, you're fine. The one thing that you can do is also be an example. What I mean by that is don't tell them just to get over it. Don't tell them that, don't tell them don't have anxiety. Don't say don't be depressed, because if a person who was depressed could get rid of depression, they wouldn't be depressed. They feel like they can't get rid of it. So don't tell them to get rid of depression, just show them happiness, right? By the example that you are. Just show them light, show them happiness, especially if you dealt with depression yourself. Show them, hey, I went through it too. I just want you to know that you can get through it, and my life is a testament that you can get through it because I went through it. I know you can get through it. Same thing with anxiety. We all actually experience anxiety. Some people just experience anxiety disorder. Some people just experience it in a way where it kind of cripples them. Well, it does cripple them in a way. And so what you want to do is show them too, hey, I have anxiety too, but I got through it. And sometimes people just need that hero, although we all need to be our own heroes. If we can see that someone got through something we're struggling with, like the depression or the anxiety, sometimes that's all we need to get through it. So be willing to be vulnerable with them and be willing to share, hey, I went through depression. Hey, I dealt with anxiety too, just so they can see an example that it's okay and that they can get through it. All right. Hope these tips help. I guess that's it. That's all I got to say. Peace.